Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ. Welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience Before the Pour, aka 20 Questions with MJ. My guest today is a fourth generation of his family to play an instrumental role in the fine wine and spirits realm in the United States. He's director of business development at the Taub family's NYC-based wholesale business, Independence Wines and Spirits, and Taub Family Selections. It's Jake Taub. In 2019, making him probably the youngest guest on this podcast. He graduated from Cornell University, where he studied business, viticulture, and enology. During and after school, he studied on the ground in both France and Italy. He's completed internships at Palm Bay International and the Wine Enthusiast. And in 2020, he joined IWS as the key account manager and was very quickly promoted to director of business development. Jake has increased national sales at his family's proprietary California wineries, Saracina and Mendocino, and Taub Family Vineyards in Napa. Welcome, Jake.
Thank you, MJ.
All right, man. So listen, to warm us up a bit, I'm going to ask you some personal questions. They're not really that personal.
All right.
Followed by James Lipton's famous 10 questions from inside the actor's studio. All right?
I'm ready.
All right. Just answer them quickly. I make fun of everybody. It's just what I do. What's your favorite book?
Favorite book? To Kill a Mockingbird.
Ooh, classics. I'm doing back-to-backs, although, so they will probably be a weaker, but like my previous guest, his was Catcher in the Rye, so we're like classics.
I love Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, it's a good book, right? What's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie is Thomas Crown Affair, 99 with Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, it's all right. So I got chills. You know why? Because for me, like the best wine movies aren't the wine movies. That's such a great fucking wine movie because it's just they got Krug, he's got Petrus,
Or is the Krug at Cipriani?
Exactly, Krug Cipriani.
Yeah.
It's such a good wine movie.
I wish they were still pouring the Krug 61 by the glass there. Right?
Nice. Favorite musical artist, group, band.
Sticking with the classics, probably the Beatles.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. That was Lyle Railsback. That must be an importer's thing, man. Just like the classics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pseudo producer, right?
Yeah.
Both making a little wine.
Exactly. Yeah. Favorite food, last meal. What is Jake having?
Pizza, sushi, or grilled cheese.
Ooh.
With bacon in the middle of the grilled cheese.
Nice. Yeah, I'm like, when I do grilled cheese, I'm Gruyere on sourdough. I'm not, but like, if I did like American cheese, it would be American with bacon and some tomato in there, like, you know. But pizza, can't go wrong with pizza.
I like Kraft American cheese on cheeseburgers and grilled cheese.
You have to have American cheese on cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
It melts. It melts. You got to go back and listen to George Mote's episode. It's all about the American cheese. Who is your favorite athlete?
Probably Derek Jeter.
Remember the dish? What a play.
Yeah, with Giambi.
Yeah.
Giambi's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're dating me a little bit. I was only 3 when that happened.
Oh,
I've seen
damn.
the videos.
They said, wow. I love that you were 3. Dude, I was probably 30 or something in a bar in Santa Barbara watching.
But I remember I was at the game where he dove into the stands.
Nice.
Yeah.
Favorite cartoon as a kid growing up? What'd you watch, man?
I liked Ed, Ed, and Eddie. I liked. My favorite movie that's a cartoon is Ratatouille.
Oh, yeah, Food and Wine. Yeah. I can't wait till the podcast starts. We don't finish this bottle before because it's so fucking tasty what you brought. So
thank you.
Favorite cereal? Did Jake Taub get to eat cold cereal?
Mm-hmm. Cocoa Puffs.
Nice.
Fruit Loops. The occasional Cheerio. The Cookie Crisps. Yeah.
Wow, Coke. That's like my generation. Wow, I know those were still around. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Did you chew them too fast and scrape the roof of your mouth because they were so hard, or did you?
No, I let them. I mean, kind of disgusting, but I kind of let them soak
no,
in my
so
mouth
you have to
with the milk.
You have to.
Yeah.
What do you do for exercise? How do you stay in shape, young man?
I work out 2 to 3 times a week with a trainer downtown in a physical therapy place that's all college athletes and me. So I don't really fit in. But and then I also play golf and play tennis.
Nice.
Yeah, and I walk usually.
Yeah. The city does that to you.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite comedian? Who makes you laugh?
That's interesting. Is it too soon to say Chris Rock?
No, man.
Yeah.
No. I mean,
I
a lot
love
of people
Chris
have
Rock.
want to go, oh, Chappelle, but like Rock, Chappelle, listen, comedians are supposed to be funny. They're supposed to go to the edge, take us over it, and make us laugh about it. So, yeah, no.
But I also love Jerry Seinfeld,
Yeah,
obviously.
He's a consummate professional.
Yeah.
All right. Who would you most like to have a bottle of wine with? I mean, any person, historical, could be anybody. There's no time limit.
Probably my grandfather.
I suspected that because that would be really cool.
Yeah.
For you, yeah.
Have one again.
Yeah.
Because, well, I was 15 when he died, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Or my great-grandfather, or both.
Yeah, how about that? Oof. The stories you could learn, what you could glean.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, Jake, now we're going to turn our attention to the 10 questions made famous by James Lipton on Inside the Actors Studio. That's why I do this voice. It's my James Lipton impersonation. Don't worry, I'll only do it for the first question. Jake, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word, ambiguous.
What is your least favorite word?
It's a tough one. Can we come back to that one?
Sure. What turns you on?
My girlfriend.
He's such a boyfriend. Enough said.
Yeah. Thomas Crown Affair. Great sparkling wine.
Exactly. Conversely, what turns you off?
Wine snobbery.
We'll have none of that here, per se.
Also, when you go to a nice restaurant and it's a lot of foam, that does not. I like.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
I want some food, not foam.
Yeah, food, not foam. That's a good shirt.
Yeah, actually, I know that's actually a good shirt. Business mind. That's why he's director of business development.
Yeah.
Mine's working.
Also expensive Ubers, which I can't take anymore, honestly.
Oh,
It really
dude.
turns me on.
I mean, I digress because two things. Like, I was out at Hospice de Rhone with my producer, Lonnie, who's here in the studio, the executive producer, and someone was talking to me about a certain wines that they thought I should try because of who I am, and I'll let anybody figure out what I'm dancing around. And like they went away. I was like, I only drink good shit. I'm not drinking that, right? And someone was like, wow, there's a lot of pressure for the winemaker, but like, and good shit is not expensive. It's just got to be good shit.
I agree.
So there is and then also we had a lot of good food out there. No foam.
Yeah, but there's a lot of good cheap shit too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you love?
Sorry?
What sound or noise do you love?
I like silence. Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to come by. Also, I really like the music that when you get on a Delta flight that they play before the plane takes off.
You know what? Now I love that you've planted a seed. Like, I haven't flown Delta, but I'm going to listen to it.
It's good. It makes you very pensive. It's interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to peep that. What sound or noise do you hate?
Silence.
You know, as I say, it's so funny. Like, that's like.
Oh, you know what I really hate?
Yeah.
Particularly in the city, the fire alarms that people have in houses when the batteries are out.
Oh, dude.
And you have to and I'm pretty short, so I need to find a ladder even if it's like a 7-foot ceiling, and it just keeps going and going and going and going.
I hate when I've been gone and that shit happens and my dog is just cowering because it's been fucking annoyed for it. It makes me feel. That's just the way I feel like such a bad parent. I feel like I abused my child. No, because it could be for hours, and they're like, So no.
Yeah.
All right, Jake. I hope your mom's not listening. What's your favorite curse word?
My favorite curse word?
Yep.
That is a tough one. I played the fifth.
And it's because he said fifth, I'm going to say his curse word's fuck. So there you go. Jake's favorite curse word is fuck.
Fuck.
There you go. Now, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt? So if you did something else besides this, what would you like?
At this point or back in the day?
Whenever.
I wanted to be the shortstop for the Yankees, and I thought that was a realistic possibility at one point. But by the time I was 11 years old, I knew it was that dream. At this point, I'd love to work the floor on a restaurant. I'm kind of jealous sometimes when I'm sitting in a restaurant of like the beverage directors and like how they have fun and work the floor and get to meet great people. I would also love to probably be a coach of some sort of team, basketball or baseball.
Nice.
Also the ambassador. That's my dream job. That's my post-career job.
So what would you United States ambassador to Italy, to France?
Italy, France, or the Court of St. James in London. That's my dream job.
Got it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What profession would you not like to do?
Would I not like to do? I'd hate to be an investment banker. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Long hours.
Mm-hmm.
You get paid a lot of money, but like it's hard to tell like how you're making a difference.
Well, you're making a difference for yourself.
Although I saw J.P. Morgan just raise their dinner budget for their employees by $5 so they could afford a Chipotle when they stay in the office till 11 o'clock at night. But still no interest.
Cool. And lastly, last question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome. Here's your driver and a bottle of sparkling wine.
Well, that was fun. And if you want more, Jake, and I know you do, make sure you tune into our episode of the Black Wine Guy Experience. Peace. Hey, everybody. What's up? It's your boy, MJ. Welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience. My guest today is the fourth generation of his family to play an instrumental role in the fine wine and spirits realm in the United States. He's director of business development at Taub Family Selections and at their NYC-based wholesale business, Independence Wine and Spirits. Everybody, welcome Jake Taub. Jake graduated from Cornell University in 2019, where he studied business, viticulture, and enology. During and after school, he studied on the ground in both France and Italy. He's completed internships at Palm Bay International and Wine Enthusiast. In 2020, he joined IWS as a key account manager and was quickly, it's a double for me, guys, so sometimes these words are going to slur, quickly promoted to director of business development. And Jake has increased national sales at his family's proprietary California wineries, Saracina and Mendocino, and Taub Family Vineyards in Napa Valley. Welcome, Jake.
Thank you, MJ.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I earned those promotions. It wasn't nepotism, despite the family company.
Well, we're going to get into that because a theme I tell people all the time, even if you have a break, like you have to work. And this is not a business where you can just bullshit. Like you got to work.
Yeah.
It's just not, essentially importing whatever. It's hospitality. You have to work, So we'll get into that. But I love that. He's like, let me just deal with the elephant in the room. Tell everybody about the wine we're drinking this afternoon.
So I brought some sparkling wine.
Okay.
Seems like a nice day outside, although I decided to drink it yesterday when it was a little bit colder. It's from Travellini, the funny shaped bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Alto Piemonte.
Yeah, the Gattinara.
The Gattinara.
Yeah.
Exactly. And these are like the OG producers in Alto Piemonte. They produce 100% Nebbiolo, high elevation, cooler climate. And this is just an experimental project called Nebole, which is 100% sparkling wine, Metodo Classico, pas dosé, so no dosage. And this is their 84 months on the lees. So they just kind of experimented. They're super.
Let me do my math. That's 7 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they do, and at just in Italy a couple of weeks ago, I tried the 120, which they're just experimenting with this stuff. So I convinced them to send me maybe like 100 bottles or so, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it's frickin' delicious. So I just want to bring it.
And I love Jake bringing the Flex bottle. Thank you for bringing something unique that, there's not a lot of. I really do appreciate that.
Is that a Flex bottle?
That it's kind of a flex.
Okay.
I mean, not and in the most unpretentious way. It's not like, hey, I brought the most expensive bottle of wine in our portfolio. I rate, it's like,
yeah.
It's a flex. I'm like, oh, I'm an importer, and I'm like the fourth generation to do this, and we have contacts, and I was at Vanilli, you know. What is the grape one? What
100% Nebbiolo.
it is Nebbiolo.
Yeah, so
I thought I was like I didn't want to assume. Wow, so
it's a
so
Blanc de
everybody-
Noir.
It's a it's a Blanc de Noir. Wow,
Yeah.
it is a white from black,
Yeah.
kind of like me.
When I was in, when I tried this with someone who worked for me, we were in Italy over the summer, and we did like a whole tasting of these. And she said it was Solosi, and she's a total champagne geek.
Oh wow,
And I was like, all right, that's a pretty big
That's a
compliment.
pretty big
Solosi is one of my
compliment. Yeah.
favorite champagnes. So
yeah, that's a huge compliment.
yeah.
All right, man. So we like to start at the beginning. So you are the fourth generation of the Taub family. So let's talk about
In the business, I think there were
in
more
the business.
generations.
Yeah, you're. But for you, where did you grow up?
I grew up in New York City.
Okay, so you're a New York
Yeah.
City kid. Okay,
I was a Sutton Place kid for the first 4 years of my life. We lived on 59th and Sutton Place, and so we looked right at the 59th Street Bridge.
nice.
And so my first word was tram,
Okay,
because they had the tram going from Roosevelt
Rose
Island.
Island, yeah.
And then I moved to 67th and Lex when I was 6 or 7.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, did you do?
A lot of drugs.
Yeah. Well, you did the whole. You did the whole. I had Capon on, like, and Lyle Fest. You did the whole New York prep school kind of scene, right?
Yeah, I did. Went to an all-boys school for the first kindergarten through 9th grade. 45 kids in a grade. Except our mascot, surprisingly, was the unicorns.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wait, what year was this?
I graduated in 2012, and I was there for 10 years.
The unicorns.
Yeah, we had a unicorn in the middle of our basketball court.
Dude, that is. I could get in trouble. Why? Who thought that?
So supposedly there's a lot of rumors around it.
Yeah, we gotta unpack this.
Supposedly there was it was a class prank that voted on it in the 70s. Except then the school kind of tried to convert it when they talk about it to be like, it means stronger than a stallion. And I was like, I don't know if that's what it means. So,
Yeah, wait. So 70s. Okay, so somebody was dropping acid.
yeah, somebody was dropping
Somebody was
acid.
dropping acid. They came up with this great idea. Wait, and they're like, yeah, it's better to stallion. Yeah. Well, you know what? A unicorn can stab a stallion in the eye with its horn. So
I
you know.
guess I don't know. It was, and then the other all boys schools would call us the purple unicorns, and our colors were blue and gold. It was a
I
very
was
easy
gonna say,
target.
it was. There was probably a lot of now politically incorrect jokes hurled at your athletic
Oh yeah, you
teams.
got no idea. I mean,
I do.
Yeah.
Unicorns have like these rainbow
oh yeah,
fucking
absolutely.
horns on their
Yeah,
head.
yeah. You should have seen. It was tough for the kids on the wrestling team. I mean, yeah.
So, safe to assume, and is your dad Mark?
My father's Mark.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
with a C, not a K.
Yeah, with a C.
Yeah.
Very French. And just shout real quick. We'll get into it later. But he was won an award.
Yeah, he did. This year he won the Wine Star Award Person of the Year from Wine Enthusiast,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah.
cool. So safe to say though, there was always wine on the table with meals at your house.
Always. Yeah, I've been drinking since I was about 6.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is very European. Everybody just chill. All right.
That's what they say, but I think
Yeah.
it's concerning at the same time.
Yeah. You know.
We weren't like, it wasn't like the easy way into it in the European households where like you stick your
Yeah,
finger
yeah,
in it when you're
exactly.
5. It was like,
Oh.
all right, here's a glass, drink it and tell me what you think. You know?
They were like putting you to work.
But we also had the smell kits. Remember what
Yeah,
do they call it? Le Nez du something.
It was a whole big. They sold it at Akron when I was there. It was a wooden case and it had sandalwood. It had like samples of all these essential oils so you could develop your palate. Yeah.
So we used those. I didn't think it was very helpful at all. I thought that it all kind of smelled like a clusterfuck of like weird scents.
Yeah.
And there was nothing that was accurate about wine in that, but we had one.
Yeah.
And it was used to try and get us because I was just like, I taste it, but until I was 9, and then I was like chugging them.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
like, nah, I'm not speaking anymore. So, wow. So you grew up with the rigor of like having to taste wine, which is something most people don't get, and you're still in the business. So like, you went to Cornell.
Yeah.
All right. So did you go there? Your major was enology, viticulture, and business.
I created my own major.
Okay.
So, because they didn't really have what I wanted to do. They have a great viticulture program, probably best in the country alongside UC Davis.
Yeah.
But I wanted to travel when I was there, and I also wanted to be able to take business courses. And you didn't really start talking about wine when you were there. You're going to kill me for saying this. Until 2 years into the program, and then you were just with the pre-med students for the first 2 years. And so I took the minor of viticulture and enology and business, so I could kind of create my own major, and then took 2 semesters to travel in France and Italy. And I learned more in those 4 years than I ever have. It was unbelievable.
All right, so let's talk about traveling. So you created your own major, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I would have to assume you must have done some travel with your family younger, but like, what was it like to travel on your own to these places?
It's very different. Yeah, I mean, I've been traveling to some of these wine regions for a long time. Like when I was a high school senior, we went to the Bahamas as like a senior trip with everyone from New York.
Is this like as a public school kid? And I'm not like,
there are public school kids there too.
Yeah, but fucking New York prep schools that's like they're crazy. Like, yeah, we're going to the Bahamas.
After senior
trip,
we're
going to France to ski.
Well, no, there's no France skiing. Everyone went to the Bahamas. And then everyone went to Miami, and I skipped the Miami part because I was so dedicated.
Yes.
And went straight to Italy. And that was the 4th year or so that I did it, and I was a senior in high school. And I kind of just sat there silently watching negotiations and meetings between my dad and his team and some of the winery partners, and visiting them and building good relationships with them. And then my junior year in college, I was in Florence, and every Thursday I'd leave and go see another producer in Italy, and I was there alone. Luckily, the Italians and our producers in particular are the most hospitable people in the world, so they made me feel right at home. But it was different.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
I had to speak.
You had to speak. So how many languages do you speak?
1.5.
Great answer.
No, I speak a little bit of French. I speak a little bit of Italian. My Italian's getting much better. And I speak English.
All right, I think I speak
English is a blessing and a curse.
Why you say that? I'm just curious.
Because everyone defaults to English, and so you go and you try to learn the language.
Oh, yeah, and they want to speak to you. They want to improve their English.
They want to improve their English.
Right.
In Italy, I made the mistake of not dating an Italian.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
And in France, I dated a French girl for a little bit, and my French got really good. And then I was also with our friend Jean-Luc Colombo and spent some weekends with him, and you have to learn French when you're staying with Jean-Luc.
Oh, my God, yeah, we'll get into Jean-Luc later. It was so funny. Jake, I was at a tasting with Jean-Luc, and he was off the rails. It was awesome.
With Robert De Niro in the back.
Yeah, he wanted to... Let's tell the story. Yeah, he wanted... So we're at...
The Mark
by Jean-Georges. And I went home and told my wife, I was like, baby, I had lunch with Bobby. She's like, what? I was like, I had lunch with Bobby De Niro. She's like, I was like, no, he's right there. I was like, literally, he was like 6 feet away. I had lunch with him. She's like, no. I was like, but Jean-Luc saw him, and like, it was noisy as hell. And
it was so noisy.
And Jean-Luc didn't want the gates closed.
He insisted on keeping the door open during the tasting, even though there was a loud restaurant,
right.
just so Robert De Niro and him could have some sort of
bromance,
eye contact while he was giving his speech and talking
gave him
about
a bottle
his
of wine and everything. So but it was like Jake was like, "Hey, can we close?" He's like, "Close the door to the Somme." And John goes, "No."
We kept trying to close it because nobody could hear, but he kept saying, no, until Robert De Niro left, and then he was happy to close the door.
And then also, it's just funny to see, I mean, like, he's known you since you're a kid. So, like, on one level, he kind of treats you like a kid. He was like, he was going on a political commentary, and he's like, how about the terroir? Jake's like, how about the terroir? And he's like, oh, little Jakey, this is about the terroir.
He's about the terroir.
It was about the war in Ukraine.
Yeah. If you use irrigation, you are Putin. Jean-Luc, please. The wine.
Trying to rein him back in.
Yeah, but he's an amazing. He's honestly both my grandpas passed away, and at this point, he's probably the closest thing I have to a grandpa, and so he calls himself the French grandpa with me, the French grandpère. But he's always entertaining.
Yeah, no, I love shit like that. I was like, this is off the chain. This is so awesome.
Yeah. Actually, you know his favorite movie, Django Unchained. Every time I go to Cornell, he shows it. He calls himself Columbo Unchained. Yeah. He has a whole video, Columbo Unchained, actually. Yeah.
So, what was it like being at Cornell? I mean, you traveled, but like you grew up in New York City, and you're out in bumblefuck, upstate New York.
Yeah.
What was that like? Was it tough or was it easy? Just because
I mean, I made some amazing friends at Cornell. I built some great relationships with professors, but it was fucking freezing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's coldish. It's butt ass cold up there.
And they do a great job. They have this bus that goes from the middle of campus 3 times a day. I remember 10:10, 12:40, and 5:30. And I'd always see it leaving, and it would go directly from the middle of campus right to 69th in York, where the Cornell campus is in New York, where the hospital is, which was 2 blocks away from my house. And every time I saw it, because it's like 20 degrees colder up there, I was like, I gotta hop on this bus. But it was fun. It was fun. We had a great time up there.
Yeah, I mean, and while you were up there, were you like the guy who, like, would your dad send you like samples, and you like, were you like the go-to guy for food and wine, or
not really? I mean, the hotel school up there is pretty like infamous, and so there were 1,000 of me. It felt like. I mean, my dad did send us wine at my house, more so my sister than me. I mean, she would walk in like they still have wine, and she's graduating tonight. But her house, she'd get like 10 cases of wine at a time. Great shit too. He sent me like the closeouts. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, they say there's a special relationship between a father and a daughter. I'm actually listening to Dave Grohl's book right now, and he has like three daughters, and he says there's just like, there's just, you can't, most influential man. So your dad's like, your sister will never be with someone who doesn't have great taste in wine. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
So yeah, let's go back to like growing up. So how many are in your immediate family? How many is in your family?
I just have a younger sister.
You just have a younger sister. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just the 4 of you guys.
The 4 of us.
And what does your mom do?
My mom is a great mother.
She's just a mom.
Yeah. She's an unbelievable mother.
Yeah.
She used to do decoupage. She used to actually cover a lot of the ice buckets like this that we had in our house with old school French posters with glue, and she collects shells and she paints, and she's terrific.
She held down the culture in the house, huh?
She held down the court in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. And your sister who's graduating today, what is she majoring? Is she planning to come in the business, or is she just off on her own going to do something else?
She studied international relations and French. She's interested in the business. She came to her first in Italy 2 weeks ago, which was a great experience for her. She loves the business. She just says she doesn't know if she wants to work with her brother. So that's but she's going to come into the business eventually. She's studying for her LSAT right now, which is good.
Let her talk to me. She don't want to do that. I mean, whatever. Fucking go to law school, get the degree. It won't hurt. It won't hurt. So, but she's not going to practice law.
Yeah.
She'll just be able to be a better negotiator of contracts.
And the international relations thing is huge in this business. Yeah. Especially on the importing tier.
Yeah. Oh my God. We have so much to talk about. So when you were in France and Italy, were you doing internships, or are you just studying abroad? So was it just like Cornell had a relationship with a university over there?
Yeah, Cornell had relationships with 2 universities, one in Florence, one in Paris.
Okay.
And then I was in those cities from Monday to Thursday, and I'd leave on Thursdays.
Okay.
And then I'd go to wine regions and meet our suppliers and spend time with the winery owners and the winemakers and kind of just introduce myself. It wasn't about business. It was just about kind of starting a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah.
So how'd you get up involved in Bordeaux working for
Christian?
Yeah, Christian.
I met Christian a couple times.
And I'm sorry, just for like the beginner listeners who we have, tell them Christian's full name and who he is.
Christian Moex is one of the great gentlemen of the wine business. His father owned Petrus, and he was the winemaker at Petrus for many, many years. And he really made it what it is from a qualitative perspective and really built that winery what it is today. And then he owns several wineries on the right bank of Bordeaux, including Tratenois, Le Grave, La Fleur Petrus, among others. And then he also has a negociant business called Jean-Pierre Moex. And I met him a few times prior to going to work for him for a little bit. I wasn't there for a long time, but it was still a great experience. We import his wines from the right bank, Le Grave and Osana. And I just hit it off with him since the first time I met him. And his wife Charisse is terrific, and his son Edouard is awesome. And I just always respected the shit out of him. He's a great guy. His wines are always awesome, whether it's with Dominus in California or La Fleur Petrus or Osana in Pomerol. He's a king, and I always looked up to him. And one time we were having lunch at his house. I was studying in Paris at the time, and he invited me to come down for a harvest on Premiere, which is actually going on right now. And he told me about how they do on Premiere and all this stuff. How they do harvest, and I said yes, and I signed up right there, and I went there for a month or so, and it was epic.
Yeah. So, two things. So, and it's just because I think there are people tell people about what Petrus is. Petrus is considered a first growth, but not a first growth. And it's tell them what the grape is, because people
100% Merlot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't listen to Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. You want to be drinking some fucking Merlot,
Yeah. No, I love Merlot.
Well, when it's done right, there's nothing. Is there anything better? Because yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's one of the great wines of the world.
Yeah. It is one of the great wines of the world.
Yeah.
And then he came to California and Dominus, which again, tell people just about Dominus.
Yeah,
like I said, we have
all
all levels.
Dominus is one of my favorite wineries and one of my favorite wines consistently out of Napa Valley. And I don't sell this wine. I'd like to.
Yeah. If you're listening, Christian.
Yeah. But in Yountville, the Napa Nook Estate, Christian bought it from Robin Lale in the 80s, and he's a lot of great people have gone through that winery, like David Ramey, and he's trained legends through there, and consistently makes one of the most elegant, drinkable, balanced wines from Napa Valley year after year. Actually, last year's wine was the wine of the year for Wine Spectator #1.
Yeah,
2018 vintage.
Yeah. And so, you got to work with him. I was
in the cellar. Well, I was picking grapes a lot.
Right. I was saying, was that your first harvest?
Yeah.
So here you go, Sutton Place kid. Tell them how hard harvest is for all people who have these romantic notions about being a winemaker.
It was fun because we partied every night, but it was hard work. I was in better shape than I ever have been during that, and I had a baguette every morning with a lot of butter. And I was actually and then I did the pump overs and did some of the viticulture process at Chateau Le Grave. And there was another gentleman there who was the other stagiaire who was from Greece, and we were the only two non-Frenchmen in the entire winery during harvest, because you have all these 40 or 50 old school French people coming from all over the country coming into harvest every year, because he takes such good care of his vendangers, they call them, the harvesters. And they called us La Cave Cosmopolitique because we were like the Greek kid in the Upper East Side New Yorker, and it was funny. Yeah.
And was that your first and last harvest? Have you worked any more harvests anywhere around the world?
I haven't, unfortunately, because that was in 19.
Okay.
And then COVID kind of happened.
Yeah.
I will be doing our harvest out in California this year, alongside our team out there, because I haven't experienced a harvest since we've owned these wineries. So I look forward to that.
Very nice, very nice. So when you were abroad and then you came back to Cornell, what was one of the biggest takeaways that you brought back to your studies?
So when I was a junior, I went abroad in the spring, right?
Okay.
Came back from Italy, did the summer back in New York, worked a little bit, and then I was a senior in the fall. And I was like, fuck, I got to go abroad again. And so I went abroad in the spring to Paris, but I finished all my credits.
Okay.
And so I had an opportunity to either take whatever class I wanted at Cornell in the spring or go abroad again. And I felt like I gained such a great knowledge on the Italian wine scene and the Italian wine business that I wanted to do it in France, and that's kind of what happened. But it's two different worlds, working at wineries and visiting wineries, and then going to Ithaca and sitting in on those wine classes and talking about like hybrid grapes that aren't even Vitis vinifera that they're cultivating in almost a scientific way at the labs that they have in Geneva and in Ithaca. But I think it gave me some perspective and gave me some application to those classes to apply the stuff I was learning to. Yeah.
So, who started Taub Family Selections?
Complicated question. What the fuck?
Well, dude, I have been talking nonstop since last.
No,
Wednesday.
we coughed at the same time. I know. That was crazy.
It was amazing. We both turned away. You're a pro.
Yeah. So Taub Family Selections was started in 2018, but it was an iteration of Palm Bay International, which is our family's volumetric business.
1918?
No. 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, but it came out of Palm Bay.
Okay, so let's go back. Palm Bay. Who started Palm Bay?
So Palm Bay was started in 1977 by my grandfather and my great-grandfather.
Okay. And literally, was that out of Florida? Was it out of, or just they just
no?
They just
but, you know, there were.
They used to go to Florida.
They went. My great-grandfather lived in Florida, and it was always incorporated in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, but my great-grandfather, his brothers started in the business before Prohibition, and him.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So they were bootleggers during Prohibition. They were making whiskey and selling it. There were 5 of them. They each had a different role in the company. My great-grandfather was one of them. He was the sales guy, my great-grandfather. There was the producer. There was the guy who was in charge of glass and bringing all that stuff. And then there was a logistics person and I forget what the 5th brother did. But 2 of them were arrested. Spent 100 days in jail, which at that time was paid a $100 fine, which was a lot of money at the time. And then that was Abner and Jacob, and they were both pardoned by FDR. So they couldn't get a liquor license after Prohibition, which is why my great-grandfather was able to get a liquor license after Prohibition. The day after Prohibition was repealed in 1933, became a distributor in New York. Soon after that, he started a relationship with Ernest Gallo. Ernest Gallo came in, he was famous for his surveys, Ernest Gallo, of the retailers in New York, and he kept seeing Lafayette brandy, which was my great-grandfather's brandy, everywhere in New York, and so tracked him down, and my grandfather said, my great-grandfather said, "What do you think?" And he took a sip and said, spit it out right in front of him and said, "I couldn't make a whiskey that bad if I tried." And later that afternoon, my great-grandfather walked out with an order to distribute the Gallo brandies in New York, which he was the next Gallo distributor for the next 50 years.
E&J Brandy.
That was my great-grandfather's name. My grandfather came up with the name E&J. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So we have a long history with the Gallos, and it turned into many iterations, and we got into the importing business after we left the distribution business. It's a different world.
I know he's trying to fast forward, but like the Gallo brothers arguably are why we have a wine industry in America.
Absolutely. Gallo brothers and Bob and Davi.
Yeah. And that is so crazy.
Yeah.
My producer, I'm not going to date her, but she loved her some E&J wine coolers. she loves some Bartles and James.
I remember that's how my dad started, was stacking Bartles and James. You know?
Oh my God! Yeah, like Bartles and James.
That's exactly what it was.
You know, we didn't really fall for the White Claw shit. That's basically our White Claw, was Bartles and James and Zima. We didn't fall for it, but your generation. These youngins right here.
We fell for it.
Yeah, they told you.
Yeah. I was really close. I was at the Yankee game on Tuesday night, and I was really close to getting one of those big Bud Light seltzers. I didn't, though. I had a Bud Light.
Okay, good for you. Well, it would have been market research for you.
Yeah.
Wow. So they become distributors, and you have a long history with the Gallo family.
Yep. The company was called Gallo Wine Distributors in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first name of the company.
First name. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then, how did your family come to begin representing all these estates? You know, you guys represent some amazing estates in France, Italy, also around the world. Like, how did that? Which one of your predecessors was the person who started just going around, hitting the streets, visiting wineries?
That was my grandpa. My grandpa David was touring the Italian landscape, and at the time in the 70s, the only Italian wines in America was Chianti wrapped in straw and cheap Suave.
And a fiasco.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And he was in Trentino and came across a grape called Pinot Grigio. And he thought that the style of the wine was very much in the American palate. It was crisp, it was clean, it was easy drinking, it had nice acid. And so he called at the time Mel Dick, who is now the head of wine and one of the most influential guys in the wine business historically in America, and he said, Mel, I think I found something that could be really interesting for the American wine business and really take the Italian wine business in America to the next level. It's called Pinot Grigio. And he said, David, this Pinot Grigio. What? No one's going to be able to say this. He ended up bringing in Cavit Pinot Grigio. At the time was called Cavit with an apostrophe over the A.
And what year was this, roughly?
77.
So this is before Santa Margherita became a big thing.
My grandfather was the first person to bring Pinot Grigio to the United States.
Holy shit.
And he was right on. And
yeah.
So it was called Cavit, and they got rid of the apostrophe, and it was called Cavit. And then in 78, you'll probably appreciate this, soon thereafter, he brought in Dick Cavett, who was the late night man of the time.
Yeah.
And they came up with a simple advertising campaign that was ask for Cavett, our Cavett, as in Cavett. And it became a massive success and is still the best-selling Italian brand in America to this day.
So Dick Cavett is the first wine influencer.
100%.
100%.
Yep.
Shit. Fucking around with the Taub family. This is going to be a dope one. This is OG shit, motherfucker.
It's OG shit, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're drinking the OG shit from outside people.
I mean, this is like...
Yeah. You didn't know this story?
No. Why would I? I mean, all I know is like Sammy Davis Jr. did those Mano Shevitz commercials, and I remember Rio Nidio on Ice. Boy, that's nice. And Matus Rosé and the bottle that ended up being like a candle holder in the dorms and shit. But like, no, that's why I love having these. I mean, I knew that your family was influential, but this is the things that we unpack, and I think in this world, you are the influential generation. I mean, this is your generation. But what I'm hoping is people understand these stories. Like these are grounded. Like these are stories that like you're just not gonna get from someone who's out there talking about their natural wine and shit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you don't get to have a natural wine movement unless the Taubs bring Pinot Grigio to fucking United States.
To some extent, absolutely.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Listen, because wine had to be. Your family is one of those families that's influential in making wine popular, right? So like, yeah, there would be natural wine, but there wouldn't be no forum to even sell it. That's all I'm saying. Like, yeah, we'd have wine here. Mm-hmm. I mean, just like if White Zinfandel saved the California wine industry, saved a lot of old vines.
Yeah, absolutely.
So people need to understand that when they poo White Zinfandel, my first real wine.
I could have brought a bottle of White Zinfandel. Right? That could have been fun too.
That would have been fun. Okay, so you start this campaign with Dick Cavett.
Yeah.
So then, what was like you say the next big play for your family after like kind of introducing Pinot Grigio to the American market?
After that, well, at the time we were still distributors, so we had a company called Premier Wine and Spirits, which was our distributor in New York.
I remember. When did that go on?
We sold that. So we sold that to Southern in 2004. Which
I was like,
Southern
I remember Premier when I worked at Acre. Yeah. I remember looking at the beverage media. Okay.
Yeah. So there was us, there was Charmer, and
Charmer,
and the other guy. And we were the big three.
Yeah.
We were the third biggest wholesaler, and the other two guys were the number one and two. We had Bacardi and some other things. It was a very different world back then. You know?
Yeah, it was about. I mean, even back then, still like by and by, it was liquor. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, we had John Capon on, and he's told like when his grandfather had a business, like they're like, what? You don't have blackberry schnapps? Like it was like very much driven by spirits. And then his father, when Michael took over, he started more with the wine. But even then, like a lot of the wines now that are super allocated, like you couldn't give them away. Nobody wanted them.
No. We sold some of the higher, like it's funny, like I remember we used to sell some of the, from what I talk about with my dad, and just because I like to see what he thinks about the distribution business today in New York. And some of the big names in terms of the fine wine business in New York now are companies like Bowler and Skurnik and Polaner. And Doug Polaner's wife was actually our best fine wine sales rep.
Oh wow!
And then I think we distributed some of the Skurnik wines at some point too.
Yeah.
But they both have great portfolios.
Yeah, I mean, but that's like, that's again like. So we had Kevin Zraeli on, and Michael Skurnik worked there, and then he left, started Skurnik, and then David Bowler and Doug Polaner worked at Skurnik. There's like places you work in New York where
a lot of people come out.
A lot of people come out. They're
totally,
like a farm system. You were talking about like you want to be a shortstop. Like there's a farm system. Right?
Absolutely.
With wine and
I can't figure out what the farm system of today is. I think it's less consolidated today than it used to be. Like Windows of the World, like Andrew Robinson, for example,
came out of there. Yep,
came out of there. Yep. A lot of other people.
Yeah, tons of people. It is different, I think, and I don't know if it's different for the better. I mean, I think you can. There's more opportunity in that you can position yourself, but I think people really got trained up. I mean, people really worked with OGs, for lack of a better term. Like you got trained up before you went out and did things versus, I mean, there's something about just being brazen, but like,
yeah.
But
the market's much more evolved today too. So, and because it's more evolved, there's more options, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's so small. I mean, I think about like, I had John Bonet on. He's married to Valerie, and Valerie was like the top Riesling spirit. Like, at certain levels, sorry everybody, at certain level, there is just like this interconnection of where people worked back in the day. I think that's probably changing now.
Yeah, it's very ancestral.
Yeah, very incestuous.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, there's not a lot. I mean, there's not a lot of Michelin star restaurants in the world. So if you think you saw the Somm movie, and you're going to become a Somm at a Michelin star restaurant, like it's like trying to make the NBA or trying to make the NFL. Like it's like a very high level, thing. You know what? We're gonna take a quick break right now, G, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna probe Jake for more great stories about Taub and independence and what he sees for the future.
All right. I hope I could offer some insights. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So, we're kind of talking about the growth of the business, grandfather. So, when did your father, Mark with a C, take over?
Never. Well, he was working alongside my grandfather for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But he was into the bit. He knew he wanted to work with his dad from the time he could remember.
Wow.
But when he was in college, he went to go work for a winery in Spain, Faustino at the time.
I know Faustino.
Yeah, so that was our brand. And then they also, I believe, if I'm getting the story right, they own Sigilo, which was that Spanish wine, because I still see bottles from the 60s around. It's like wrapped in that canvasy paper.
Yeah.
And so when he was growing up, his dog's name was Sigilo. And he was kind of in charge of building the distribution business while my grandfather built the import portfolio.
Okay.
So he built the conveyor belt system that they have in Syosset and really helped streamline the logistics at the warehouse that they had out there. And my grandfather started building the fine wine import portfolio, and he did that alongside my dad in the 80s and the 90s. And they got producers like Bertani, Col d'Orcia, Travellini was a little bit later. At the time, there were some other Ferrari,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of other producers. Yeah.
I mean, we could probably take 15 minutes and let you just run down your book of like. I was hoping you were going to bring some Domaine Bretagne.
Oh yeah, you had Eva on the
Pinot
podcast.
Noir, yeah, Eva on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also represent Mastro Berardino.
Yeah, you had Piero.
But these
That's actually a newer relationship, but that was a relationship. It's funny how this business works because my grandfather wanted to do business with Mastro Berardino 25 years ago, and we signed on Mastro Berardino in 2019. So it was a 20-year courtship.
Wow. But, you know, I love the parallels, though, because we had Piero on, like you said, like, does someone in your family have a picture or have you preserved the pardon from FDR? Like,
Yeah, we have a whiskey called Jacob's Pardon.
yeah, it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
But Piero had letters from importers in New York that he shared with us, like prohibition's about to end. We want to represent you.
Yeah.
Like cats from like Dallas, Texas, like places you wouldn't even think about, like importing wine.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's amazing because Piero in particular, I mean, that winery, forget about the historic significance that it had on Southern Italian viticulture and enology, but they were the first people to really start exporting wine from a fine winery.
That's what he said.
Italy.
Yeah, his grandfather.
And it wasn't just America. They were, I mean, in Asia.
Yeah,
in
they got
Africa.
on boats. They got on boats. There was no planes, man.
And so last time I was there, I mean, I've only been there once because we've only had the brand for a few years, but he built a whole museum in honor of the 3 generations that came before him and built the business. And the documents and the archives they have is absolutely amazing. And he's a professor by nature, by study. And so the way that he talks about wine and talks about his family and the history of Southern Italy and the way that he represents it is very professorial. What's the word?
I can't say it because
professorial.
I'm now like 2 bottles in. Yeah, I
Yeah,
used to not
you had
say
the bottle recently.
professorial.
Professorial.
Yeah.
Okay, add it to my least favorite word.
Professor.
Yeah.
Professor Oriole.
Yeah.
So, guys, it's so funny. The past 2 pounds, I'm like, my throat. I don't have COVID. I swear. So, why? I understand the business side of your major, but what made you choose enology and viticulture? I mean, like, just to understand better. Like, I'm not gonna put it like, why did you choose those? Like, your family imports and distributes wine. Why did you study enology and viticulture?
Well, I think we've been around, like, you know, we're talking about this history, and like we've been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've been around for a long time, which means we've been able to survive a long time in a business that people sell off of, particularly in America, not at the wineries in Europe or wherever else in the world, but in America, like, there's not a lot of importers that have been around for multiple generations.
They're like, we'll take that $200 million big conglomerate.
Yeah, or something, or they sell the brands, or whatever it is.
Off,
you know, there's change, but we like staying around. Like, we want to pass it on. You know, it's something that we take pride in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason that we've been able to do that is because we have kind of a 360 view of the business, because we've kind of done all the aspects of the business. So we've been a distributor, we've been an importer, now we're a producer.
You've been bootleggers.
We've done spirits. So it's like we have a 360-degree view of the business that allows us to be good at all of those aspects. So we became a good importer because we were a good distributor.
Yeah,
we're a good distributor because we know what it's like to be a good supplier.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was important to maintain and build upon our winery relationships that we've had for many generations to understand what they do. And what they do is produce wine. And I wanted to understand that on a deeper level. And my dad wanted to invest in California in our own production.
I love that. That's dope. So here you are. This happens. I'm gonna guys. I'm gonna get a throat regimen. Like, I had to take some cough drops when I was in Paso Robles. So here you are. You graduate Cornell in 2019. You are ready to take on the world. You come in. You go to work. IWS, key account manager.
Mm-hmm.
Pandemic hits.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind?
Well, I was pissed because I just moved out of my house that I grew up in. I found a little apartment downtown. I was very excited to make my way downtown, and then I got booted out to my family's house on Long Island, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And I was really excited and ambitious, and I had a lot of energy coming out of college, and I wanted to grow our distribution business because that's where I saw the most opportunity, where I could make an impact. And I kind of just threw my hands up there. I was like, I don't really know what to do next. But we sat down with our team, and my dad was amazing during that time. And we ended up having the best 2 years we've ever had. And we doubled the size of our wholesale business because we thought it was an opportunity to bring all of the Taub family selection portfolio inside our own distribution business. And that's proven to be a pretty big success.
Yeah, I mean, I read, my team, great research that during the pandemic, you did, like you said, you doubled the size of your sales force, tripled sales revenue, and catapulted the organization to the forefront of fine wine distribution in New York. And I also
we
read
have a good PR team. You know?
Yeah, you do. You had something. I heard that you had something, aka everything to do with that. So you were very giving us the modest view, but kind of walk us through how you sat down with your dad and said, "Here's where I think we should go and what we should do."
Yeah. So I don't know. My dad trusts me because I'm his son, and
my dad that didn't work in my household.
And I kind of just we were looking at all the opportunities.
And we weren't talking about millions of dollars of wine.
And I said, you trust me with this portfolio. I think we got to take control of our own destiny. New York is such an evolved market, and we're losing market share on our fine wine portfolio during COVID because so much of the business was done on premise.
On premise, yeah.
You know what it's like to build relationships with retailers. You did that for 20 years. Let me have the opportunity to do that and take control and place the orders ourselves. I mean, how great would it be if I could go into a restaurant, build a relationship with the sommelier, and then show them a wine and place an order for them on our core brands, which we didn't have in our own distribution business at the time. And he said, give it a try. And it turned out to be the most invaluable lesson. I mean, that was the best. That was my master's degree, and I may go back to business school in a few years, but that was the best education. I mean, trying to build a company and doubling the size of this wholesale business during COVID with a new portfolio, it's been the most amazing learning experience I could have ever asked for. It's special.
Yeah. So you mentioned Master Barodino was one of the new wines that came in 2019. So you said new portfolio. So did you acquire a bunch of new brands at that time, or?
We had brands that were with a different wholesaler.
Okay.
And we brought them into our own
okay,
wholesaler.
Right, gotcha, right. So
because we had the complexities of the 3-tier system.
Right.
In this country,
So talk about 3-tier system. I know, you can have you can be the importer, but then it'll say Taub Family Selections, but then
Taub Family Selections is the importer. Independence Wine and Spirits is the distributor.
Right. But you had wines that were you imported, but then were distributed by
a third party.
Yeah. Talk about for people, because most people don't understand it. I still don't understand it, and I live here. But people in California really can't understand a 3-tiered system, man.
Yeah, the Paso Robles guys. Because, I mean, if you own a winery, you could sell. A lot of those guys sell direct in California.
Yeah.
But the United States has 50 different states, a lot of different wholesalers. You have the additional complexity of control states. And
what's a control state?
A control state is a state where the government.
Pennsylvania,
New Hampshire,
where you have where the liquor stores that happen to sell wine are state run.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then you have additional complexities like franchise states, like New Jersey, for example,
New Jersey
or Michigan.
Sucks. I live there, but it kind of sucks for that. So what's a franchise state? Because I didn't know it was a franchise state.
So New Jersey's a franchise state because let's say you have a brand or you're an importer or a winery and you assign a wholesaler in New Jersey.
Yeah.
They have more or less indefinite rights to sell that wine. You can't take it away from that wholesaler once they're assigned it.
And so then that becomes the issue. There'll be a wholesaler in Jersey, and I'll just use a California because that's just where I've lived. Somebody might make 12 wines and they bring in 3, and you don't want those fucking 3, and you can't get the other 9.
Yeah. I love Jersey though. We have a great wholesaler in Jersey, but
no, literally, I've had Oh yeah. I'm like,
Well, also in California in particular, like it's because of the 3-tier system, it sometimes makes sense for the wineries that are domestic to to sell direct, and a lot of particularly at the high end, a lot of those high end Napa Valley producers or Paso Robles producers
Right.
are selling as much as they can direct to consumer because they have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And they're making more margin on it, so I don't blame them.
No, I'm not mad at that. But then like I have a lot of friends who like. They're like, yo, and they make great wines, and whatever you feel about score, get great scores. But like, they're like, I don't have enough customers in New Jersey to warrant me spending $1,000, to ship directly to you. So then I got to shit shipped to New York. Okay, so what do you, essentially, is that just states' rights or people being territorial with wine, or
the United States has a lot of old school laws when it comes to the alcohol business that dates back to Prohibition, but a lot of them they protect wholesalers, they protect suppliers, they avoid the opportunity for people to monopolize in this industry. It's not a bad thing, but they're old school laws that date back to Prohibition.
Essentially, but then, and you don't have to, but then you do end up like there's like a lot of huge corporations now they just run shit. Like like you say you don't want monopolization, but then like there's people who the evil empire it was once called.
Yeah, yeah. But for example, are you talking about Southern?
Yeah.
So
no, I didn't say it, man.
So
see, you say evil empire, but like, yep, we know who that is.
Well, but the thing is, like, Southern's a great wholesaler. Like,
they are.
They built that business
God
organically and acquired many different companies, including our own, to build that business. They were ahead of their time. They're still family owned. They did a very strategic merger with Glazers, and they do a good job with a lot of things.
No,
so
they do. I have a buddy
credit to them.
No,
it's a meritocracy, right?
It is, right?
Because sometimes, I'm a little bit defensive sometimes when it comes to the subject, just because as a fine wine distributor in New York, like our big brands like Cavett, we still have with the larger wholesalers. But sometimes some of the other fine wine distributors will say, oh, he can't sell fine wine. He's a big distributor. And I'm like, he has big brands. And I'm like, well, that's not true. I say
agree.
that.
As I sit here and bitch, but like that's not true. Some like my Southern rep in California, he knew so much about wine. Like people, it's not just out there. People aren't just out there to sell floor stacks. I think unless you're a liquor salesman, like if you love wine, you want your big brand to taste so you can get to taste and try those and have the opportunity to like, you got to bang on your like 10,000 cases of Cavett every quarter, whatever. But
totally.
But that's what makes the wine business go around is the business. It's the cash flow, right? And then you can sell your allocated cases. So
yeah. And a big wholesaler was one small. They just did a really good job and were able to grow.
Ooh, I like you. Yeah. We know where Jake's going.
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right. I am very pro, but like just when someone's fucking with my wine, I get a little.
I get it. No, I get it. And a lot of these small guys have great freaking selections,
Yeah.
So there's room for everyone, The more diversity there is when it comes to selections, the better.
Absolutely.
Are,
Absolutely. So you said before, like your family does. You've been importers and distributors and suppliers. Who made the move to get into actually owning vineyards?
Mark with a C.
Mark with a C.
Yeah.
All right. What was his? I'm not sure, but I would think because you said you like to talk to your dad. What was kind of behind that move?
He spent his whole life traveling to the greatest wineries in the world, learned a lot from them. A lot of them became more like family than business associates or even friends. And he wanted to try and do it himself. He was fascinated by the process. He felt like he could extrapolate all the things that he's learned from the wineries that he's done business with over the past 40 plus years and do it a little bit himself. And now he's doing it, and he's doing a great job with his team out there. And I'm starting to get involved in that a little more too. But what he's doing with Saracina and Mendocino is amazing.
Tell people about Saracina, and then let's talk a little bit about like unheralded wine regions like Mendocino, which has tons of old vines.
Tons of old vines.
And been farming organically and biodynamically before it's chic, just because those fucking Northern California hippie motherfuckers.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's great though, because they've been farming the right way for a long time. We have the advantage of getting to make wine with Sauvignon Blanc that was planted in 1942 and Carignan and Grenache that was planted in 46, and the vines have stood the test of time because they've been farming the right way, you know. But Saracina is a 400-acre estate. My dad bought it from John Fetzer in 2018.
That's an old school name, if you guys. Fetzer.
Sundial Chardonnay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this was kind of like the crown jewel of the Fetzer brothers owned everything. There were 10 of them, and they had like thousands of acres between Lake County and Mendocino.
Okay.
And my dad just fell in love with this property. Saracina was modeled and built after a winery that John went on vacation on in Tuscany, and my dad spending the vast majority of his career in Italy. It filled a particular niche for him, and if he was going to buy an American winery, it was going to be something that reminded him of Italy. He wants to come up with a brand called Marchesi di Mendocino, and I'm like, fuck. You know.
I'm you know, it gotta grow on you. I'm not it's a kind of, I mean, it's a little tongue in cheek, but I kind of like it, Marchesi di Mendocino.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of cheesy sometimes.
It's cheesy, but it's dad humor.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's totally like a dad. Like, because I'm the Marchesi.
Yeah.
The Mendocino.
Yeah. But we're replanting there right now. So we ripped out, as soon as he bought it, he ripped out a bunch of vineyards and let everything lay fallow for 3 years, which was a huge investment. And now we're slowly replanting. We replanted some Alicante Boucher and some Zinfandel, which I love, on St. George rootstock. We're planting some revolutionary clones for inland Mendocino, like Mount Eden, Wente, Dijon, and a little bit of Clone 4.
So these are Pinot Noir clones.
Chard
clones. Okay, I knew they were Burgundy. Those were Burgundian names. Yes.
Yep. We hired a new viticulturalist who has worked with Dave Ramey his whole career. We're making a little bit of wine with David now, too, who was the original consultant at Saracina. And we're replanting all 5 Bordeaux varietals, Sauvignon Blanc, Sauvignon Gris. I don't know what Sauvignon Gris is, but it's supposed to be great.
Yeah, you know what's so funny? It's one of those grapes that sometimes you'll find in a white Bordeaux that people don't really know. Yeah.
White Bordeaux's killer. I love white Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my dad wants to plant a little bit of Fiano. John Luke's been to the property a couple times, and he wants to plant some Syrah on a couple hillsides.
I mean, it is Mendocino, man.
Yeah. No,
Syrah.
I mean, the stuff that's coming out of Mendocino right now is amazing. And for too long, like, Mendocino hasn't been at the forefront of quality in people's minds because it's been a place for big corporations to make wine, or it's been a blending grape.
Or people in Napa truck the fruit down, plump it down, and like, whatever it is, like 70% could be Napa Valley, and you don't even have to list other stuff, and you make your wine bigger and fuller from like us old vine stuff from places like Mendocino.
Totally, and it brings down their cost of goods. You know, county average in Napa Valley right now for Cabernet is $8,500. County average for grapes in Mendocino is $2,500, and we're getting these incredible old vine fruit. People talk about old vine fruit a lot, right?
Yeah.
What do you think old vine fruit means? Like,
for
like
me,
yeah.
At least 80 years old, not
80?
the 40. At least 80.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least 80.
Yeah.
Yeah. Double what they say. Like at least 80.
Yeah.
And I mean, objectively, I want shit that's over 100 years old. You know?
No, I agree. Because for me, old vines, it's like, what does that mean?
Because 80's old as fuck. Like
80's old as fuck.
I hope I live to 80. Like neither of my parents lived to 80, so 80's old.
Yeah.
You know, 40's not old.
No.
I was 40. I was like, shit, I'm 40. Like it was nothing. Right?
Yeah.
80's old.
80's old. And I think it allows you to maximize the concentration you get out of the vine while maintaining as much acid as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for me what old vine fruit means in terms of the character it adds to the wine.
Yeah. Now, before we move on, also you talk about, because you sent me a bottle. I haven't tried it yet. You sent me a number of bottles. I got to try them. But like the Saracina Sauvignon Blanc is like something you're very proud of.
Very, very proud.
You told me to decant it.
Gotta decant it. Yeah. It's because it's slightly reductive, but it's made from the Lolonis vineyard, and it's the oldest Sauvignon Blanc in America. Oh. So it was a vineyard that was planted in 1942 with cuttings from Chateau Yquem.
Shut the front door. Chateau Yquem, for those who don't know, just is like known for making sweet dessert wines from Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon. It's basically a first growth. Essentially, it's an iconic estate. So I didn't know that. So it's Sauvignon Blanc from Yquem.
Sauvignon Blanc from Yquem, and they also have Semillon on the estate, which we're adding into the blend in 2020. Sick.
Yeah, that's gonna be sick.
10-foot-10 spacing.
Sign me up.
Train.
Sign me up, Jake. I want more.
Send you a bottle.
Yeah.
I love it. It's
He
amazing.
said a whole bottle. Damn, Jake. Thanks.
Yeah, I thought about
two?
bringing that today. No, we're going out together, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the way we talked about like that white Bordeaux blend of Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon is just so special to me. And so you have that property, and also just talk to people about Lake County, because I don't think most people understand that Lake County was essentially Napa County. And then it was divided. Like Lake County is another underrated, still under the radar unless you're a real wine geek,
Right.
region.
So honestly, I haven't really dealt that much with Lake County. So
Okay.
I'm not. You probably know way more about Lake County than me. I'm more like inland Mendocino, so like Redwood Valley.
Yeah.
And like kind of just north of Healdsburg,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of moving over to the Anderson Valley, and everything in between is like kind of where I'm starting to
Right.
really
Oh yeah.
gain a
And
lot of
Anderson
passion.
Valley is another amazing place in Mendocino.
Amazing.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
where when Louis Roeder came over here to make sparkling wine, he went to Anderson Valley. Killer Pinot Chardonnay.
Sick. I
I
love
mean,
that stuff.
just-
And I've tasted wines that our winemaker at Saracina is a superstar. His name's Alex McGregor. And I've tasted wines that he made from Anderson Valley with David Ramey in 2004, 2005 from Mendocino Ridge, which is an incontinuous AVA, a lot of Syrah planted up there that's about elevation. So it's only the hilltops that are above the
It looks
cloud
like an
line.
alligator, actually.
Yeah, that's fucking genius.
Yeah.
And I've tasted them back 2004, 2005, and they're so good. Yeah. Now the fruit's really hard to get, but we're trying. We got a little bit of Pinot and Chard, but trying to get some of that Syrah, Petite Syrah back.
Yeah, very nice. So then you can't, well, you could, but like on one level, you can't be in the game without having some land in Napa. So talk about the property in Napa that your father acquired.
Yeah, so we bought a brand called Herodance, which was Bernard Borte's original brand, who was winemaker at Clos de Val.
Which was in the Judgment of Paris, showed really. It's like
Yep.
another, like all the cult wines, but they like Clos de Val. There's just wines that are just so dope that have kind of been overcome with marketing, and it's all good. But like Clos de Val has just been solid.
It's like one of the OGs. It's like Heights
Exactly.
or Gurgitch.
Exactly.
Or
So fucking good.
Yeah. And so we bought that wine, and over a couple iterations, we lowered production and changed it into Taub family vineyards, where we're kind of took a little bit of a page from the French Burgundy model, and we have a village level, which is a Napa Valley Cabernet and Sauvignon Blanc, kind of a blend of what the vintage gives us. We have 4 single AVAs, a Howell Mountain, a Vider, an Oakville Merlot from the Narcy David Vineyard, which is freaking amazing, and a Rutherford Cabernet from fruit that's owned by the Beckstoffer family that's declassified single vineyard fruit. And then we have 3 single vineyards, Beckstoffer George III, Beckstoffer Missouri Hopper, and Morrisoli Borge. Missouri Hopper is the vineyard right next to Dominus. So,
Christian,
my love of Christian.
back.
It's an amazing vineyard, and I love the fruit that's coming off that property.
And how long have you guys owned that property, and like what was your first vintage? And
12 was our first vintage.
Okay.
But we, it's still a learning curve. I mean, the wines get better and better every year. They're awesome now. I love them. There's an approachability and an elegance to them that I really appreciate, because a lot of Napa Cabernet is just, some of it's great, but I think that what we're trying to do is showcase the diversity of terroir that's there by highlighting the different AVAs and single vineyards, which not enough people are doing. And it's been awesome.
Yeah. So, do you think, trend-wise, there was this big move and there's nothing wrong with it, to make the best wine I can. And so you put a California appellation on it, and you just you just get the best fruit, and you blend it. And,
Sure.
But you said not enough people are highlighting terroir. What does that mean to you and to Taub family selections?
It's honestly a great question, because people are dumbing it down to California appellation, right? But so many people, even some of the great vignerons of Napa Valley, don't have enough fruit to do single AVA expressions from specific AVAs, so they're blending it down to Napa Valley, and you don't get to taste the character of the difference in AVAs that are available in Napa Valley. I mean, forget about Rutherford, Oakville, Yountville, Coombsville, which I love.
I'm loving Coombsville now, man.
Coombsville's so great.
Ooh.
It's so great.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of Coombsville since it was like the first place that I kind of fell in love with, and actually what made me appreciate terroir in Napa Valley, that cooler climate. And I met with John Caldwell one time. It was like one of the OGs from Coombsville, and it was one of the greatest meetings I've ever had since I started. Just in showcasing 100% bottlings from specific AVAs, especially with our AVA series, the wines are mostly vinified the same way. So, we're using the same oak regimen, and you see the difference when you taste it, and you see the character that the wine, what shines through the terroir. You see the interpretation that terroir gives you.
Right.
And I love that. So we're trying to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, lot of wines across the portfolio.
Yeah.
But since you joined the business and things just opened back up, you're just at Vin Italy. What is there a place, even going back to when you were a kid, maybe traveling with your parents, like kind of do you have like a place you would just love to visit? You go anywhere in the world and it's like a wine home for you, just like,
Yeah. Well, for me, you go home to home with a couple places. You go from New York to Israel. When you're in Israel, when you get Israel, you're always home.
Yeah.
And the other place, I mean, honestly, in the past couple of years, I've been traveling to Alsace a few times. I've been 3 times to go visit the Trimbach family, and I've become really close with Jean's son, Julien, who's making the wines now and living in the winery at the house. And that place is just a fairy tale land.
That's Clos Saint-Hune.
Clos Saint-Hune.
So like there's again, like I said, I have different. Tell people. So we I literally, and before you, I had a German wine importer and his German Rieslings, but like talk about Alsace Riesling and talk about Trimbach in particular, man. That's just.
Yeah, so Trimbach family's been around since the 1600s.
Yeah, it's like 16.
They're absolutely amazing, and it's incredible coming from a family business and then looking at their family business. Like, it's amazing that my family business is still around, but we've also only had one person in every generation around. And at Trimbach, they've had cousins, brothers. Like, for right now, you have Jean and Pierre. Jean is kind of the global market director, and Pierre is the winemaker. Pierre's daughter is Anne, who's now the new global market director, and Jean's son is the winemaker. So they switch places, and they just find a way to work together, and it's so amazing. And they're one of the great white wine producers of the world. Clos Saint-Hune is the greatest Riesling in the world and one of the greatest white wines in the world. Last time I was there, we had an 85 Clos Saint-Hune among many other vintages, and I just remember being like, how could a wine that's this old taste this fresh? And it's amazing. Alsace has been confusing to a lot of people because there's different styles. Some are sweet, some are dry. Trimbach is always dry, with the exception of the dessert wines.
Yeah.
And that's important for people to know. And the Trimbachs have been instrumental and amazing in bringing Riesling to the global wine consumer and traveling around the world, showcasing what this incredible grape could do. And it's a unbelievable place to visit and a great winery represent.
Yeah, I remember it was one of the Somme movies where Raj Parr, they asked him he's like Clos Saint-Hune, just without a doubt, it was like Clos Saint-Hune, like greatest white wine in the world, just, and tell people a little bit, like, do they have also those treacherous, like, hillsides that like you could fall and die, break your neck trying to farm type
Not
stuff?
as much. Like, I mean, in Alsace, they do have hillsides, like
Right.
Frederick Emile, which is another one of the great wines of the world. is a blend of 2 Grand Crus, and those are relatively steep. Clos St. Hune is in the Rosacker Vineyard.
Okay.
It's not as steep, but it's not like if you go to Jean-Luc's winery, like that place is like you could. I mean,
It's like going to
you can't fall.
It's like a
Yeah.
roller coaster. Like
Yeah.
yeah. And so, like you get to like you've grown up around these icons, right? Like you said, like Jean-Luc, who is a pioneer. Wines we had were amazing that day, and I just love characters. I think winemakers typically, they're not all of them, but when you come across a character, it's like times 1,000.
Yeah.
And he's in that class for me. So this is always hard, but do you lean towards a region like you brought this beautiful Italian sparkling wine? Like what's your go-to country? Like, do you have like a go-to, like, do you find yourself drinking more of like Italian wine or French? I mean, what kind of like what's on a weekly basis? Like, what would you say like your kind of go-to is?
It's such a tough question.
Yeah.
It depends on the week. I've been drinking a lot of bubbles recently, honestly, but I love to explore. I mean, I guess it's part of my generation.
Yeah,
right?
you would
We're
have to, man.
exploratory.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's the best way to learn about wine. And I mean, I know a good amount, but I'm still have a whole world to learn. And the best way to learn is to drink and not only taste through. I mean, I taste our producers. I drink them every day, but to understand what else is out there and understand what other people are doing and from all regions of the world. I mean, I did a tasting a few weeks ago with Lisa Granick on Georgian wines.
Yeah, she's awesome. We love her.
Oh, she's terrific. Yeah. So I just enjoyed, diversity is everything, the wine world and is in terms of the products that we represent there's hundreds of thousands of wines to be able to choose from. And
Yeah.
so it's not dogmatic,
Yeah, no, totally. So here you are. You're the 4th generation of Taubs to be in this business. Oh, and I want to back up. So Israel's home. Do you guys ever do you import any wines from Israel?
Recanati.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool. We have a winery from Israel. I mean, Recanati, but they have a vineyard called David's Vineyard.
Okay.
Which is, it was named after my grandfather. Also, might have been named after the king.
I was like, maybe King David.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It depends.
Okay. So you know what? So I'm going to assume if you're Hebrew descent, like if you're named David, you're named after King David. So yeah, it's named after your
It's
father.
named after my grandfather.
Okay. So tell us about Recanati.
So the David's Vineyard, which is beautiful Cabernet, is on the border of Lebanon. And when they harvest it every year, they harvest it over one day, and they call the government, and they have a ceasefire for the day so they could manually harvest the grapes. And
Amazing.
So it's an amazing story.
Amazing. Yeah. No, because I know people like I know the quality level of wines from Israel has grown. I think with all the strife, people forget that it's a Mediterranean nation. So of course, it's gonna make beautiful wines.
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed wines from Lebanon, and lots of old vines in like Lebanon and Israel.
Lots of old wines, totally.
Know.
And but also, I mean, it's a warmer climate, so it's easier to farm properly there. And again, they've been doing it the right way for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the wines are awesome. I wish I got to drink more of them, but I'm gonna start because everything's getting so expensive, and they're not just yet. So.
So before I went down that little just tangent, I was going to say, so here you are, you're the 4th generation, and pandemic hit, and your father trusted you, and you made some moves that really increased the business. I'm sure it's going to happen gradually, but where do you see the direction going for your family's businesses?
It's a good question. It's tough to answer. I mean, I think also when I said that one of the reasons why we're still around and why we're still growing is because of our 360-degree view.
Mm-hmm.
The other reason why we're still around is because we think for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
So I want our businesses to keep growing organically. I want to maintain the relationships that we have, grow new ones, continue to do things the right way. And I think that, new dreams will come as we continue to grow. I mean, do I have a direction exactly where I want the business to go in 10 years? Not exactly. I want to continue to grow our wholesale operation in New York from a fine wine perspective. I want to, on the Palm Bay side, which I'm not as involved in yet, I want to see those brands continue to grow and develop new ones to become staples on the shelves of every retailer in America. I want to continue to grow our spirits portfolio, which is beautiful, between Jacob's Pardon and Drumshambo Gunpowder Gin, and a couple of other exciting new things coming down the line, and then continuing to be a grower and farming the right way and making quality wines first over anything in California is going to be exciting. But, I'm taking it day by day, but with a vision towards the long term.
Yeah. So with your degree in enology and like, do you ever plan on making your own wine? You just like, I'll make a barrel. Or have you done that yet? I mean,
no, not really. I mean, I meet with Alex, who's our winemaker, all the time.
Yeah.
Russell Bevan just signed on to make our wines from Napa Valley, and then we're also making a little bit of wine with Jesse Katz. I think that is really important to understand. Oh yeah, we talked about Jesse.
Yeah, we talked about it maybe the tasting. Yeah. Shout out Aperture, fucking what's the
Devil
one?
Proof.
Devil Proof Malbec. Oof.
Sexy.
Oof. That wine fucked me up the first time I had it.
What did you think it was?
No, it fucked me up because like literally I had it, and then and it was just like I was just on one that week. So like I had it, it blew me away, and so I was like, well, what am I gonna have tonight? And then like I don't know. I mean, like it was complete, but I had a Turley, and I was like, this is nothing. There's no flavor. Like a wine I could make Turley be like, oh whatever. Yeah. Like it was just like like the next 3 bottles I had, I was like, this is. I'm like, I should have just opened a $3 bottle of wine because like what a waste to open these bottles after the first time I had it. Yeah, no, and he's so I can't wait. I gotta keep fucking around with Jake, man. Gotta fuck with Jake.
We're going to California. We're going to California,
dude. We need to go to Cal. Listen. We'll talk about that because we talked about it. I want to go up to Saracina when I visit Alex, but
also don't forget the Outpost, my grandma's restaurant in Sonoma Square.
Yes, exactly.
Great speakeasy.
Yeah, I love speakeasies.
Yeah,
that's gonna be. We'll drink some gin. We'll drink some whiskey.
Yeah, it'll
be ugly, but really cool ugly. So, you talked about how it was like a 20-year courtship between Master Barodino. Is there a dream wine that you'd like to add to the portfolio? Something you have your eye on? Or?
I have my eye on a few things. I've already started those courtships, but I gotta keep.
You gotta keep
close
to
the chest, or else the listeners are gonna keep close to the chest. You know. But yeah, there's a lot of wines that I'd love to represent. Yeah. But even there's wines that I'd love to represent that I know that I'm not. But it's great meeting new people, and just visiting wineries and tasting with winemakers every year and getting to know them. And even if you're not looking to do business, it's fun and it makes you better at this job.
Yeah. So one last question. We're gonna let you get out of here because you gotta get on a plane and go to your sister's graduation.
I do.
And this is gonna be maybe 2 last questions. Maybe I'll debut this with you. But the first question is, there's a lot of wines in your family's portfolio. You've had a lot of wines in your life. You're like 6 years old, and they're like, tasting notes. But like, is there a bottle you remember where you like, when you got, like, either your tasting notes were on, but you like understood what your family did? Like you tasted this and you're like, oh my God, we bring this to the world. Is there a bottle like that for you, a standout bottle?
There's a bottle I think that made me fall in love with wine. It was actually, we represent the Domaine Baron de Rothschild portfolio, so we represent all of the Lafite portfolio and Saskia's wines, and they have a property in Pomerol that I didn't work at because I worked at Christian's, called L'Evangile. And
I know Chateau L'Evangile.
Beautiful. And I remember having that wine at the winery during On Premiere, and I was just like, beauty. And that was one of the first wines that made me fall in love with wine.
All right, so we're gonna wait for season 5, but we messed around with this one in Paso Robles, so I'm gonna do it with you, okay? And it's not even complete off the top of my head. So I'm gonna give you 3 grapes. You have to marry one. One has to be your mistress, and the other one you got to ditch. You got to dump.
Yep.
All right. Pinot Noir, Nebbiolo, Cabernet Sauvignon.
It's a great question. It's a good one.
Who you marrying? Who's your mistress? And who you ditching?
Cabernet is gonna be my mistress.
Okay.
Nebbiolo is gonna be my wife. And I'm bailing on Pinot Noir. I love it, but the greatest Pinot Noirs in the world are, unfortunately, I can't afford them.
And if Jake Taub can't afford them, that goes to what the market. But I love it. Thank you for playing along, Jake Taub. Thank you so much for being here, man. I mean, I love how we met. I love what you're doing. I really love what you're doing in wine, man. You're bringing you're the next generation. You come from a position where you can make a difference, and you're totally doing that with your team and the type of wines you're bringing forth. So thank you for that. Tell everybody how they can be a part of what you're doing, Taub Family Selections, IWS, where they can find you guys.
The good restaurants and the good stores. Turn the back of the bottle around. If you see Palm Bay or Taub Family Selections on the back, it's bound to be good.
There you go. And we'll make sure we put all the links to their information, and we'll put Jake's Instagram handle. He's got a girlfriend, but he's a good looking guy. He drinks good wine. But back off, ladies. And for all you listeners, please don't forget to check out the show notes for each episode. That's where you're going to find the info on the wine we drink, the cool links to things we talked about, the information on my guest today. It was Jake Taub. And until the next time, cheers to the Mavericks, the philosophers, the deep thinkers, and all you wine drinkers out there. Peace.
Thanks, MJ.
All right, we're clear. Thank you, man.
How was that?
That was
so good.
Really?
awesome.
Bro, first of all, you're an old soul.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well,
You're 25
what's
years old.
what's my red